This is Rick Derringer, and normally this would be the Ripper show, but I've taken him hostage tonight, and you're listening to WSLR.
Hey, it's your show, buddy. This is Russ. This is the Ripper, and like 2 hours of Rick Derringer. What more can you ask for? I'm a great rock and roll guitarist, and it's your show, Rick. And that was If 6 Was 9, a little nod to Jimmy. You nailed that one.
Well, you know, Jimmy was a friend of mine, and I got to play with him a bunch of times, so I feel like it's kind of second nature to go out there and do Jimmy songs.
Well, you know, that's the beauty of like people like yourself. I mean, here you are, great solo artist, always great in concert, great guitarist, great. We'll just get all the greats in there in one shot for you. But you played with some special people through the years. You mentioned, you know, friends with Jimi Hendrix. I mean, you've, and we also want to get into a little bit later on. We're going to talk about your producing, you know, the Weird Al Yankovic thing. And but let's go back a little bit. Let's go back, and we were talking about the internet before that song.
Oh yeah, I really feel like that the internet radio. What was it? John Mellencamp just wrote a big op-ed, and it got around on the internet among all the music people because he really felt like just the modernization, the controlled radio that we all listen to out there on the FM and AM dial just prohibits people from making it, for new artists from coming up through the ranks. It prohibits the radio from having the ability to just simply play great records. I watched Jailhouse Rock the other night again on TV. It was on TV. Elvis Presley's famous black and white movie, and in that movie he and another girl just decided to start their own label, which they did, and they put out the records. They took them to the DJ, and the DJ said, "Yeah, I'll play it," and he put it on, and while it started playing the new Elvis record, he started doing a commercial right over the top of the record.
Right.
Well, a few minutes later, he had so many requests that people said, "Man, we loved, but we couldn't hear it because you were talking over it." So he said, "Okay, and now I'm going to play the whole thing." Well, that can't happen anymore,
right? Except
through internet radio. And John Mellencamp might have been happy about the state of modern radio out in the real world, airwave radio, analog radio, whatever they call it. But he should be very proud. If he was more conscious, he'd be very proud of what's happening on the internet. Because people right now have formats that can play whatever the DJ wants. People can email instantly and say, just like the old days, they either like it or they don't like it. If they like it, he actually has the power to play it 3 or 4 times. I mentioned a show called rockandrollheaven.net. They played our song Sometimes a couple weeks ago before it was out yet, and they got so many requests through emails that he said, "I'm going to play it again." And a little while later he played it again, and as soon as it was done, he got on the air and went, "I like that so much, I'm playing it back to back." He played it again. That was the 3rd play. And then he got so many emails that he had to play it 1 more time. So in the 3-hour show that he had, he played it 4 times.
That's great. I thought you were actually going to tell me he was going to be locked in the studio with the, you know, the bars across the door and nothing but Sometimes being played.
No, but what it means is that you actually have the power to not be controlled by the big corporations, by Clear Channel, and all the other big corporations that own those stations. Nobody tells you what to do. You have a format here where you can do whatever you want. The audience can phone in or email and tell you what they liked and what they didn't like immediately, and you have the power to change it and play it again if you want to.
And we do. And
so let's play it again.
Well,
oh no.
we might. Hey, I have to do a 4-hour marathon tonight. I know we got Rick for 2, so sometimes maybe just the song playing for the next 4 hours. But very true. We're local community radio, but we're out on the internet, so you know, we don't have the Clear Channel sponsors or anything like that. And that's why shows like mine and Tom Darby's and, you know, all the other great shows that WSLR offers get deep into the artist's catalog. And
as the audience gets more conscious of this, of their involvement, of how they can be part of new radio,
right,
then obviously the sponsors are going to find out about that, and they'll be coming aboard in droves.
Yes,
Yeah.
I miss old FM 70s Scott Muni, you know.
Well, you know,
WFM.
I don't know if you remember, but in New York when it first started, it was pirate radio because once again, the radio was so controlled, just like it is now.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't allow that thing to happen. So the only way it got started was through pirate radio. They had ships out in the water, and they would beam it in to the land, and they would play all those stations, you know, all the music that you liked from the 33 RPM records. And people liked it so much that it became the norm. The big powers that be followed in lockstep. They had to follow because that's what people wanted to hear, and that's what's going to happen now.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, it was coming from a period where, you know, the 3-minute single was pretty much done. You know, by the late '60s, and you got album formatted rock.
That's right.
And it just took over, and which opened the doors for the concert halls. I mean, which I call the '70s the concert era because you know you had all your major acts. I mean,
but see, the problem is people turn on classic radio right now to hear those acts that you're talking about. Let's say Lynyrd Skynyrd. They play a big Lynyrd Skynyrd record. Lynyrd Skynyrd has new music out, but they won't play the new music because they're not allowed to. Simply not allowed to. So they have to go to places like this to hear the new stuff.
The new stuff and the deep stuff. Because
that's right.
Even though they do, and God bless them for, you know, playing, you know, still, you know, like Kathy, big Stones fan behind me. How many times do you want to hear "Start Me Up" in the same day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to hear.
Once is enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other great songs on those albums that should be played that you'll never hear.
That's right.
And that's what we're all about here. And we've got some more music coming up with my friend Rick Derringer over here. I also want to tell you that in about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, we're going to open up the phone lines for you, the fans, the listeners, to call and speak with Mr. Derringer. And that number is 941-355-4540. I'll give it to you again, 941-355-4540. So in about 10, 15 minutes, you want to start calling in, and we'll put you on the air. If you have a question for Mr. Derringer, please remember you will be live on the radio, so you know.
Well, what music you got planned for us next?
Actually, it's not going to be Barbra Streisand. I'll tell you that, Mr. Derringer over there, Mr. D, who actually played with Barbra Streisand. She's an arch enemy of this show. No.
I did talk. I mean, I did.
Tell you about
Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, give me
I'll
the
tell you
Streisand.
Barbra Streisand.
Let's get it
I played on a couple records for Barbra Streisand, and during the making of those records, the whole band was in the studio. They had a great band of session players, but Barbra Streisand never came in the studio once. But in order to simulate the feeling of having somebody like Barbra Streisand, they had a girl who would sing on every cut. She sang every take in the studio that we did. She didn't just sing it once and us play with it. She sang live. Every single take that we did in the studio, this girl sang, and she was great. She was so good that we went, man, I can't wait to hear this thing when Barbra Streisand actually sings it. So when the record came out and we put it on for the first time, hearing Barbra for the first time singing it, we went like, eek! No. Wow. We went, wow, that girl that sang on the takes was so much better than Barbra. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we went like, wow, and she was just called the person that came in and sang it on the takes in the studio. She should have been the person that actually sang those songs.
You're saying the stand-in vocalist was better?
That's what I'm saying.
God, you know, this is why Rick Derringer is Mr. Rock and Roll, folks. You just crushed a few fans.
Well, I love Barbra, but not that much.
That boy. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to play a cut that I told you I wanted to play. Well, actually, let's because we're going to seg into this in the next set. Let's go into
WSLR.
Your Edgar Johnny days. How's that sound?
Well, go for it. You're the DJ
No,
here.
it's your show. Maybe you hijacked it earlier in the evening. You forgot already. See? All right. This one, I think the fans will remember this one. This is from Roadwork. Edgar Winter and Rick Derringer. Still alive and well.
If you'll call back, please. Tell me what it is, and I'll see if you can do
Stuff, Rick, on its tracks. You're cracking me up, man.
And what is your name?
That long story short,
Okay, thank you.
there's one Stones fan who Sully, right?
No.
Has this thing about Barbra Streisand.